This week on Becoming Fearless.
I thought I was constantly giving, but I was actually constantly trying to manipulate to get validation. And that's most men I see today. In David Deida's work, he talks about the first stage man being the stage where a guy is more like, it's my way or the highway, bitch. So I set the rules, I'm gonna do what I wanna do. And the second stage, it's the guy who's kind of into compromise, the nice guy. Where do you want to go to dinner? Let me just make you happy. Well, I just want to go where you want to go, because when you're happy, I'm happy. Now the third stage man, he's more like, I'm going to step back into my masculinity and I'm going to feel into you so deep that I'm going to lead or be the structure in the relationship from the place of, where does this relationship need to go? Not necessarily what you want, not what I want, but what is the relationship as its own third entity need? Arnold Schwarzenegger, he talks about working out and he talks about how he's coming all the time. And he says, I'm walking across the street and I'm coming. I'm lifting weights and I'm coming. To be creative, to be powerful, you have to be in touch with your sexual energy. There's one thing that the middle class is taught to value over anything else, more than anything else, which is comfort. Comfort and security. Your dreams are always going to require you to sacrifice comfort. Always going to require you to sacrifice security. How many people drag themselves out of bed dreading the day? Until you let go of the need for security, you can never be rich. It just won't happen. You'll never be financially free. You'll never be able to do the things you want to do because you'll always run back to a safety net. Men that are really solid and enjoy tension, that have mastered the art of dancing, playing, flowing with tension, are the best manifestors and the most attractive men in the world.
Hey guys, welcome to Becoming Fearless. This is Brian again. And I'm a little under the weather today. I've been a little sick. I've been traveling a lot. Been to Las Vegas and then before that out to Romania and did a talk in Bucharest with a group of clients, a group of Zan Perrion's clients. And I had a great time giving the talk, had a blast. I hope you enjoy it. And always ask yourself that question. What would you do if you were not afraid?
You guys know what the 3 stages of development are? Like the first stage man, second stage man, third stage man? Some of you know it. When I look at groups like this, there's not enough of them. We have a group in LA that's growing around the world, and Zan has a group, and it's inspiring to see because in David Deida's work, he talks about the first stage man being the stage where a guy is more like, it's my way or the highway, bitch. Think of a biker. Think of a guy who's the king of the castle, right? So I set the rules. I'm going to do what I want to do. Then in the second stage, it's the guy who's kind of into compromise. It's all about the nice guy, nice guy syndrome. What do you need? Let's go on a date. Where do you want to go to dinner? Let me just make you happy. She'll ask an opinion, where do you want to go? And he might say something like, well, I just want to go where you want to go. Because when you're happy, I'm happy. I was completely this guy. I don't know if I was ever that first stage guy. I mean, I wish I could say that I had a little experience of that, but it sucked because I never got anything I wanted out of life. Thought I was constantly giving. You're actually constantly taking, by the way, but I thought I was constantly giving, but I was actually constantly trying to manipulate to get validation. And that's most men I see today. Now the third stage man, he's more like, I'm going to step back into my masculinity and I'm going to feel into you so deep that I'm going to lead or be the structure in the relationship from the place of, where does this relationship need to go? Not necessarily what you want, not what I want, but what is the relationship as its own third entity need? Well, it may be different than what both of us want. And that's a very powerful thing because it's not about compromise anymore. It's about truth. It's about what's our highest truth and what's going to raise us to the next level, because I don't want to have a relationship that's going to die. I don't want it to be all about you. I don't want it to be all about me. I want it to be about something greater. Now, the first stage woman, just so you kind of know how it all kind of plays out, is the first stage woman is, I'm going to use my sexuality to manipulate. Extreme version of this for the man might be a biker, right? Extreme version of this for a woman might be some gold digger prostitute, that kind of energy. In the second stage, she's also all about compromise. And that's when a woman goes through that stage of, I'm going to develop my masculine. I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to start my own business. And then men responded by saying, well, I'm going to start doing what I want to do. And there was this space of half masculine, half feminine women. Can you see that when you have a half masculine, half feminine woman, that it doesn't leave any space for attraction? There's no polarity between the man and the woman anymore. Compromise sounds great on paper, but then when you look at it for real, it kills all polarity. There's no passion anymore. There's no excitement. And the third stage is, for the woman, is I'm going to use my sensuality, my femininity to inspire the world, to inspire you. Have any of you ever met a woman like this that really isn't using her femininity to manipulate, but to be more, to give to the world? It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? And when I see groups like this, and I see groups like I've got back home, it's all about developing that third stage. I see groups out there right now that are trying to move men back into the first stage. You guys all have probably seen guys like that. And it works for getting laid and getting dates, but it doesn't work for relationships. When I first started all this, I was extremely, extremely shy. I was extremely shut down to the point where I couldn't talk to anybody. I mean, my social skills were none. To get on a stage like this would have destroyed me. I would have probably broke down and ran away or something like that. The first guys I modeled were first stage. I met a guy. I was living in this yoga hippie community at the time. I moved in because I just didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I wanted to change the whole paradigm. And I get into this community and I think to myself, it'll be perfect because I'm one of those really spiritual guys. And I'll get into this community and I'll change my life and I'll meet spiritual women and everything will be awesome. And I get in there and of course, none of the spiritual women want the spiritual guy, right? Like he's too nice. He's just that spiritual guy. And so I'm in there and this guy moves in. His name is Daniel. He's fresh out of jail and he needs a place to go. So he moves into the spiritual place. And he's on parole. He has no job, no car, no money. And you can guess what happens, right? And in that, my eyes open. This guy walks in and I'm thinking, well, he has nothing. And every girl wants him. Every little yogini is chasing him. They're all like nuts about him. My best friend at the time, who happened to be a girl, she was just going nuts over him. And she would be like, oh, Daniel this and Daniel that. And I'm like, what is it about Daniel that's so amazing? And she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, is he better looking than me? And she's like, not really. It's just he has something about him. And I really wanted to know what that was. It was in that moment that I made a decision. I could either hate this guy or I could become his best friend. So I ended up moving in with him, and I moved in with him and Catalina, and that became my kind of like where I started really waking up. I started watching the way he was. I started watching the way she was, and my life changed radically. I was determined at that point to change my life. And I started to see a lot of patterns, and I'm going to jump way ahead because I have an hour today, and I don't want to go into hours of talk, but I did a lot of work over a short period of time, and my life started to change. And my biggest lesson came from my first few heartbreaks because I started to fall in love. I started to meet women that were more confident, more powerful than any women I'd ever met before from doing my initial work, and my heartbreaks were worse than I'd ever had before. Anybody have that experience where you start to do the work and you think you're falling in love with the first girl you meet? You're now meeting more powerful women. It was the first woman that I ever chose that I really wanted to be with that chose me back, that broke my heart the worst. Because up until then, I'd been settling. And it was in that moment that I realized how insecure I really, really was deep down inside. I kept thinking the whole time, how long is this going to last? When is this going to be over? It was in the back of my mind, running like a tape recorder. My self-talk destroyed me in that moment. It took me out completely. I started to realize that I needed to change. Now I started to do the work. I started to do a lot of work on myself, and I started to change a lot. I ended up in the pickup community for a while as a dating coach working for a company, and got really disillusioned really fast. But the one thing I noticed with a lot of guys, and I want to find out if any of you guys have had this experience, is that a lot of guys would come in the door and I could almost look at them and say, this guy's going to get it this weekend and this guy won't. It had a lot to do with how they were being. Some of these guys really, they just needed some basic help. Once you give them the basic principles, they can start moving towards that third stage. They can start moving towards being giving. They can start moving towards giving their gift, and women will receive it right away. But I saw that the other guys, we could give those principles to them, but because of who they were being deep down inside, it still wasn't congruent with the idea. The idea was there, the words were there, but they couldn't get those words out, or they couldn't get them out in a way that the woman could feel them or believe them. I think they call it incongruence in NLP. So I really wanted to make a shift in that area. So I started a company around the whole idea of how do we get inside somebody. I think they called it Inner Game at the time, and then somebody wrote me an email today and called it Meta Game, and I was like, okay, that's a new one. I think that's kind of, I like it. I'll use it for a little while. But it was this idea of who are you being deep down inside when you're just standing there? What is your presence like? When you're saying nothing, who are you being? And when you look in somebody's eyes, who are you being? That's what the work became about. I love Zan's work because it's all about loving women. It's all about appreciation. It's all about giving. And all dating is about giving. But I couldn't see this when I was a nice guy. Because as a nice guy, I think I'm giving the whole time. I'm out there, what do you want? What do you need? And it's not working. But is that giving? It all depends on what's going on under the surface. And until you resolve that, it's actually not giving. It's let me be who you want me to be so you'll give back to me. And that's taking. That's taking the whole time. And this is why the bad boys would get the girl, the first stage guys. Can you see that a bad boy, when he looks at a girl and says, I want you, he means it and she feels it, that you're fucking sexy? Even if he's going to treat her like shit later, at least he's honest. You know? Whereas the nice guy is, well, let me buy you flowers just to get you into bed, and then I'm gonna die to myself that I actually want to get you into bed because you haven't given me sexual permission yet. And can you see that, how that third stage is like the hybrid? It's the best of both worlds. And I want to acknowledge you guys for working with Zan to develop that third stage. That's where we as men need to develop and keep amplifying this movement of third stage men and women, because that's what's going to change the world. Because what are the nice guys doing? It's beautiful. If you're a nice guy, it's a beautiful place to be because you're one step away from the third stage. You're actually developing your ability to feel emotions. You ever notice that the nice guys, even though they're trying to give you everything you want, give the woman everything she wants and their friends everything they want, they're learning to read subtle cues. They're learning to feel people just to be like, what do you need? Where do you need it? And when you wake up to that and you start saying no, stop, where are my boundaries? That ability doesn't go away. Suddenly you can read and feel into people deeper than you ever have before, but you don't have to jump when they say jump anymore. And in that, you build the third stage man. You start building this idea, this guy that can feel your emotions and sit there and ground you and be there with you, but he's not going to lose his shit just because she's a little upset. He's not going to lose his presence just because she's a little mad right now. He can actually be there and be with her emotions, feel her emotions, channel her emotions, which is what she needs, which is what's going to ultimately turn her on more. Whereas if you start catering and trying to solve every single little problem, there's nothing more annoying. Anybody ever do that? How did that work? Okay. Yeah, I'm going to fix everything for you and then we'll be good. Let's just make it so that we're happy 24 hours a day. That's my goal. And that goal never comes, right? The third stage guy realizes that you're never going to be happy 24 hours a day, and in that is happiness. Anybody ever go to a scary movie to get scared or a sad movie to just cry? Women do it all the time, right? It felt so cathartic. It felt so good. I just cried through the whole movie and now I feel great. There's actually something in that. When you start moving into that part of you that loves to feel, like Jordan was talking about yesterday, diving into all those deep emotions, those deep feelings, and you disconnect from them meaning anything, life becomes beautiful. You can be there with somebody and share deep emotion, deep feeling, deep thought, deep expression, and in that life becomes beautiful. And I think that's a large part of Zan's message. There's a whole range of emotion and feeling out there, and you got to start stretching yourself. The really masculine man, he's not afraid to stretch himself. There's a whole masculine spiritual energy that seems to be missing in society today. Anybody notice that? It's really almost criminalized. And it's missing, and it's needed. There's a proactive and a reactive side to everything. There's a proactive anger, and there's reactive anger. We have a client that's learning to walk. He's had a disability that's caused him to not be able to walk for his whole life, and he walks with a walker, and he's gotten to a cane now. He's learning to walk on two legs, just stand up, and he's really going for it. And what he mostly uses is his anger to get there. He gets angry, he gets pissed off, and develops a new ability. He pushes through things. That's a really powerful proactive side of anger. The masculine can have a proactive side too. Stepping into your power, feeling into people so deep that you can be there for them, grounding people when they're emotional without trying to make them wrong. Or, you guys see this? And this is what we need to bring back today. And that's what David Deida is largely talking about with that. I want to invite you guys to realize your power as men. I think a lot of men today have lost their because of that second stage, that nice guy development, they've lost the realization of the power that they have. The power they have over women, the power they have over life, and to create their own reality. Masculine energy is very penetrating, and that's the energy that causes things to change and grow. It bursts ideas, right? There's a great YouTube video with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And when he was young, he talks about working out, and he talks about how he's coming all the time. And he says, I'm walking across the street and I'm coming. I'm lifting weights and I'm coming. And it's because he's in touch with that part of himself that was very penetrating with life. And there's a lot of people out there that realize to be creative, to be powerful, you have to be in touch with your sexual energy, because your sexual energy is the creative energy that manifests. It's the energy that produces in the world. And as you get down low in your body and you start feeling from your core, relating to your body, communicating from feeling, communicating from emotion, you actually start stepping in attention with life and creating, penetrating, in a sense, birthing ideas, right? My corporation, when I first started it, it was a baby. And I had to step into the tension of that corporation. I had to create with it. I had to in a sense, I took an idea I felt it in my body. I stepped in the tension. I did the work. It was a baby. It would have died at any time if I hadn't kept going forward with it. And now it's reached a point where if I stepped out, these guys could probably still keep it going. It's growing beyond me. Does that make sense to you guys? It's becoming its own entity in a sense. And this happens all the time. How many people have had an idea that outgrows them? How about a brand that outgrows them? Like think about Elvis Presley, right? His name has outgrown him. His legacy has outgrown him. He had to birth that. He had to think about it, envision it, imagine it with his mind, and then see it, and then get out there and put the work in, step into tension, put the work in, and birth that idea. And this is the skill set that men are missing today. And as you get back into your third stage, you'll start to develop this ability again. In your first stage, you can do it. Third stage, you can do it. Second stage, it's really hard. Second stage, we tend to be stuck. Nothing's moving forward. Our life isn't moving forward. It just plain sucks. I always see it as like the caterpillar in the cocoon, slowly turning into a butterfly. And you're in that stage for a reason. And hopefully, we can get more and more men waking up to it and giving their gift to the world. Law of polarity. If something's 3 feet from left to right, it's 3 feet from right to left. Wherever there's an up, there has to be a down. That's polarity, light and dark, male and female. And polarities are always magnetized. So men are the natural polarity to women, or the masculine is the natural polarity to the feminine. And when women are in their first stage, they're in their feminine. When men are in their first stage, they're in their masculine, natural polarity, natural sexual attraction. David Deida used to refer to this girl who was in a yoga ashram that he would go talk at. She would admit to the fact that she used to sneak out of the yoga ashram because she couldn't stand the spiritual guys because they're all second stage men. And she would sneak off to the biker bar and pick up a biker every once in a while, just because she wanted that masculine energy. She wanted a dose of it. It's in that third stage that you get stuff done, or first stage or third stage that actually you get results in life. How many of you have experienced being in that second stage and noticing how hard it is to move forward, to get results? You are built to be attractive. You're masculine, or you're built to be masculine. The only thing stopping you, since you're built to do it, is your thinking. Whatever thoughts you have, whatever paradigms you have running in your head that are stopping you from being able to relate to what you're naturally built to do. Play with this idea for a minute. This is not necessarily a learning process that you're doing. Everything you're doing, you're not learning. You're realizing what you already have inside you. You're realizing what you're built to do. You're built to be attractive. You were probably attractive long before you realized it. If any of you have gotten really good with women, you probably got there long before you consciously knew you did. Stuff started to happen, and then you're like, why the fuck did that happen? Oh my God, she likes me. Whoa, this is weird. Or she's still here the next day. This is weird. It's because you're males. You're built to be attractive. Women like men, especially when you get back into the polarity. And that's what I want to invite you guys to do, is start looking at where you're avoiding your own masculinity and where you're not stepping into it. There's something, a teacher of mine, David Nagel. Anybody know David Nagel? He's a business coach. He calls it the curse of the middle class. And he says the middle class have it the roughest in the world. The middle class are really stuck. And it has to do with the fact that there's one thing that the middle class is taught to value over anything else, more than anything else, which is comfort and security. When you learn to value comfort and security, when you chase comfort over anything else, think of how hard it is to step out and go for your dreams. Your dreams are always going to require you to sacrifice comfort, always going to require you to sacrifice security. Why is that? Because everything you want in life requires tension. Stepping into it, feeling it, walking through it, being uncomfortable. We always call it building a powerful relationship to tension and the tension in the world. And what's happening in this middle-class society that is become predominant around the world, or lower middle class to middle class, always in that range, is they're avoiding tension at an extreme level. I'm not just talking about sexual tension. I'm talking about everywhere. From the day-to-day tension of when you get up in the morning. How many people drag themselves out of bed dreading the day? That's a reactive form relationship to tension. How many people get out of bed saying, I'm gonna make this day my own. I'm gonna claim it. I'm gonna step into it and actually go for that energy. That's a proactive relationship to tension. This is something that Horm over here did, and it really shocked him. He took 3 days to every half hour write down how much tension that half hour he chose to step into and how much tension he avoided. Like, where are the major places where I stepped into tension the last half hour and went for something, made something happen? And what were the things that I avoided? And then in that, he took all the places he stepped into tension and he listed what percentage of each that he really wanted to step into, he was excited to, and how much he just had to step into by requirement. I have to go to work today. And he was shocked. He realized 70% of your day was spent avoiding tension, 30% in tension, and only about 10% of that was tension he liked. You see how that would create a very miserable life? Who knows who Richard Branson is? Can you picture him getting up every day avoiding tension? He runs right towards it. And our relationship to tension is equal to our relationship to our third stage, is also equal to our relationship to women. See, men that are really solid and enjoy tension, that have mastered the art of dancing, playing, flowing with tension, are the best manifestors and the most attractive men in the world. Give me a stereotype of an attractive man. What's a stereotype? Job-wise. Firefighter, James Bond, yeah. We'll go with firefighter since there's not a lot of James Bond job opportunities. Now, he selflessly runs into burning buildings, and he has to stay completely conscious when he does it. Can you see the giving in that? Can you see the presence, the development of presence, the ability to stay powerful under tension? Is he not stepping into tension every day when he does it? Can you see how that energy can be felt by women? Now, think back thousands of years. What were women looking for in men? If it's in their genes, what would they be looking for? Yeah, protection would be one. The ability to provide food, to get things done. The ability to master tension, day-to-day tension. Not just sexual tension, but day-to-day tension. If you guys can't master day-to-day tension, stepping out there, building a career, taking out the trash. You're just sitting on the couch all day. Little things like this to the big things, going after a career, building your business, going after your dreams. And you have the curse of the middle class and you're sitting there avoiding all discomfort. Imagine how attractive you would feel. Could you go out there 1,000 years ago and kill animals and bring food home, get shelter, protect her and her babies, right? That's all deep embedded inside. So you don't have to be able to go do all that stuff anymore, but you do need to have that powerful relationship. Now, it's the same with us. We're all like sitting there as men, and I was completely guilty of this, saying I'm going to get all the stress out of my life. I'm going to get all the tension out of my life because stress kills. I'm going to avoid stress at all costs. And so I'm finding every which way I can to have a nice, calm life. And again, this is the curse of the middle class. So what I'm doing, we crave tension by nature, right? So what am I doing? I'm getting my tension from watching sports. I'm getting my tension from going to movies and sitting in air-conditioned theater and having my popcorn and watching somebody else do all the work. We still want it, but we get addicted to alternative forms of it. We get addicted to seeing it out there in the world rather than living it for ourselves. And groups like this are groups of men that are starting to step into their third stage and live it for themselves. And I want to invite you guys into looking at your lives and really taking inventory of where you're avoiding the tension and where you're stepping into it, where you're actually learning to actually enjoy tension, to play in it, to dance in it, to turn it into an art, to get out of the comfort zone, the curse of the middle class. So one of the things David Nagel would say, we have to give up 3 things to really have a great life. One of them is the need for security. He says, until you let go of the need for security, you can never be rich. It just won't happen because you'll always take yourself out. You'll never be financially free. You'll never be able to do the things you want to do because you'll always run back to a safety net. And it's the same for love. As long as you need somebody to love you outside yourself, you're never going to get love because you'll always be chasing it. You never catch what you chase. As soon as you start to love yourself, love will come to you. It shows up. And the last one was the need for self-esteem, which is that validation idea. Am I cool enough? Am I interesting enough? Can I get the whole crowd to notice me? Am I likable enough? And when you let go of those 3 things, think about, kind of in your mind, let that play. If you had a sense of self-esteem inside, you had a sense of self-love inside, and you didn't need security, you were willing to just go off and have adventures and go for it, go for your dreams, even if you lost everything, because you know what? My dreams are more important than dying with them unfulfilled. Then think of how different you would seem to the world. Think of how much better you would feel inside. And that's what all this work is about. It's about developing that energy, that third stage energy within us as men. It's about bringing it out, using it to not just change our lives, but then ultimately change the world. Because now we can say no to the world easily, which means we can be truly giving. A lot of people are out there trying to give. I mean, you guys all probably know somebody like this. They're trying to give when they can't even take care of themselves. It's a shitty thing because what they're doing is they're really chasing validation. All their giving comes from a place usually of validation seeking. First, they haven't learned to take care of themselves, but they haven't let go of that need to, it's basically like an addiction. They're distracting themselves from their own pain by focusing on others. That's a definition pretty much of codependence, which is what the second stage man and woman is. There's a YouTube video I just posted it. A health psychologist, and she was doing a TED Talk, and I'm going to pull up my notes from it really quick. It was called The Power of Stress. This is something we've been teaching for a while, is that stress is beautiful. We are built as men to step into stress every day, and it makes us stronger. Think about lifting weights. If you didn't stress the body, would you grow muscles? Nothing would happen, right? If you had too little weight, nothing would happen. If you had too much weight, you could hurt yourself. With the right amount of weight, you can grow immensely over time. And this is true with all areas of life. Think about sex. Does sex have tension in it? It's really good tension, but it's tension. What about a baby growing in the womb or being born? A baby coming through the birth canal. There's a lot of tension in that. We are born into tension. We're built to live in it. We're built to grow in it. It's our soil, in a sense, that makes us grow from a seed buried in the ground to a whole tree. And when we go around trying to get rid of all that tension, we actually end up making ourselves sick. Our lives we lose passion, we lose dreams. And she was talking about studies they're doing on this now. They tracked over 8,000 people over 8 years. They asked them how much stress they had in their life: high stress, medium stress, low stress. And the people with high stress that thought stress was bad for them had the highest degree of death rate over the 8 years. So I think it was like 43%. And then they went down from there, all those degrees. And what they noticed was people that had the lowest percentage of death rate believed stress was good for them and also had the highest amount of stress in their life. So they had a lot of stress and they thought stress was good for them. The belief in stress was the thing that was killing them. That was fascinating to me because it's 100% true. Think about it when you're growing up as a little kid and you're out there pushing yourself. You know, as little boys, how much are we running right into danger? Bicycles, running, jumping out of trees. We're growing. But as we get older and older, it's like we're being told, be careful. Don't take risks. Don't push yourselves too far. And this is where I screwed up. You go into this business of wanting to meet women. You know, I'm like, I want to meet women. I want to figure it out. And because I was so risk averse and so stress averse, I was trying to figure it out without having to push myself into stress. I was like, okay, I'm scared to approach that girl, so I'm going to figure out just the right hypnosis technique or EFT or some spiritual technique or something like that's going to get rid of all my fear, and then I'll approach her because I didn't want to experience any pain. What made it take so long to change my life was the fact that I was avoiding all the pain. And when I woke up to the fact that life is pain, and the key in life is not to avoid pain, but to learn to appreciate it, that's when you actually go free. That's when your life starts to really change and change fast. Has anybody read Losing My Virginity, which is Richard Branson's? His parents taught him every day to step into the unknown and go for it. They taught him to face fear. See, there's two major fears you have to really face in life. It's the fear of the unknown and the fear of being seen. And his parents taught him to face both every day as a little kid. His mom took him, today it would probably be called child abuse, but his mom took him 50 miles from home at 10 years old with his bicycle and dropped him off with a sack lunch and said, find your way home. Figure it out. And he did. It took him 2 days. He stayed at his cousin's or his aunt's house the first night, and he got home the second day. And he said, I came in the house, and I thought my mom was going to be like, oh, good job. And she said, good, I've been waiting for you. Go cut the firewood from the next door neighbor now. And they taught him to keep going for it. And you'll see that in his childhood, that they did this everywhere. When he became a young adult in high school, his first job, or his first business, because he always had his own business, was he started a magazine called Student, and he was selling ad space in it. And nobody knew he was a student in high school. He would just go to the payphone after school, and he'd hop on the payphone and start calling people and selling ad space from the payphone. And he said, and I quickly figured out back then that if I called the operator and told her that that I'd lost my money in the payphone, that she would call and replace the call for me, and it would sound like my secretary. I got Mr. Branson on the line for you. Can I put him through? And he said, that's how I got the magazine launched. I kept doing that all day long after school, sitting in a payphone. How many of you would do something like that at 17, 18 years old, right? Can you see why he's worth about $7 billion today? And he's trying to figure out. Now, his idea of what's stressful and our idea of what's stressful is radically different because he stretched himself so much over time. His container is so big now. His capacity to handle stress is so big that he receives so much. This is a really important piece. As men, you all have the capacity to handle a certain amount of tension and stress in life, comfortably. And what you receive in life, either financially, with women, with success, with results, is equal to that capacity. Your comfort and tension, your enjoyment of it is equal to that capacity. And it's developed out a little bit each day like a muscle. Your ability to get what you want in your life just expands. And at first you're building the foundation for it. And that's the hardest part, because when you're building that foundation, you don't see anything happening. When you plant a little seed under the ground, it doesn't sprout day one. It actually starts digging down, and it's digging roots, and it's fighting its way to the surface. Bamboo takes like 6 years or something like that to do this, and it sits there for like 6 years doing nothing. And then when the foundation's solid, it sprouts up in 1 year at an insane rate. And that's how we function too. You guys right now, anybody that's floundering, having a tough time, or that's working on themselves, you never stop stepping into the tension every day. You go for it every day. Keep pushing yourselves, because when that foundation finally builds, you're going to shoot up instantly like that bamboo. You're going to see results all around your life. And it's going to start speeding up, and it's going to start affecting every other area of your life. And you're going to go from these little tiny growths in your life, 1% a day, to quantum leaps finally showing up everywhere. But until you build that foundation, you won't get those quantum leaps. You can't get the quantum leaps without building the foundation. And that's what I want you guys to understand. That's what you're here to do. You keep coming back, keep putting yourself in the tension, keep pushing yourself. If you hold in your mind that thing you most want to create, what you're doing is you're burning off all the emotions that are attached to the thoughts that are holding you back. And if that takes 6 years, it takes 6 years. If it takes 6 months, it takes 6 months. And through consistency, if you stay really powerfully consistent and passionate about your goal, you will change a little bit each day, and each day faster than the day before. And then one day, bam, everything changes overnight. And then you're shocked because it just stays that way. You don't understand how it was ever hard to begin with. What seems so hard now seems almost like expected, normal, just shows up, right? How many of you had the experience of almost women running away from you? You were so bad with women. And then you reach this point where one day you just realize that, God, there's women everywhere. I have no trouble meeting women anymore. They just show up in my life. And you wonder why they were ever hard to meet in the first place. That's because the whole time you were pushing them away. And by doing this work consistently every day, you broke up the whole paradigm and the whole philosophy, the way you were thinking around women that caused you to push them away, that caused you to be saying no to them every day, which is all we're really doing. I want to thank you for this opportunity to talk. I'll be around the rest of the weekend, so if you want to ask questions.
I hope you enjoyed that talk that I gave out in Bucharest in Romania to a group of clients for Zan. If you did enjoy that talk, make sure to comment in the comment section below, subscribe, and remember, only the confident really